Today, we're going to talk about the Nikon D40 and how it does as a landscape camera. So, now that that's out of the way, we're going to transfer some files from the shoot we did yesterday where we worked on how to photograph a car and the cinematography boot camp. While we're doing that and moving that all over, we're going to talk a little bit about that Nikon D40 and its role as a landscape camera. Now, if you recall, I've posted a couple photos from the successful shots we have gotten with this here Nikon D40. And I am pleasantly surprised at how amazing this camera is for landscape photography. Dwayne was not joking when he went through and told me exactly how beautiful the colors are. Now, Nick has explained to me this several occasions on why the color is amazing, and it has something to do with the magical capabilities of the sensor in the camera. It's some kind of broadcasting sensor. It's different than a normal Nikon camera, and that makes it pick up colors in an amazing way. I took the camera up to Hermit Park where I did get some B-roll, and I took it up to Young Gulch where I don't think I got any B-roll with it in order to take some landscape photos, and those photos are going to pop up on the screen periodically through our review of this camera. Now, the three sensor problem that I had, the three focusing sensor problem that I was having issues with, if you remember the chart from our portrait review, which I will link right up there, it only has three focusing brackets, whereas the D50-100 and the D50-300 have a large focusing areas. This one only has three. Now, that wasn't a big deal for landscape photography. As it turns out, that works out perfectly for landscape photography, especially if you're cutting the ground and the sky in the way that you need to. Now, this camera here is 6.3 megapixels. I'm told it'll work with a larger SD card than what I have informed you about in the last video. I said 2 to 3 was the max. Someone on that video commented that they were able to use a 16. I don't have an off-brand 16. I thought I did. That wasn't a SanDisk because my SanDisk ones do not work in this camera, so we are going to have to order one and find out if I was wrong. If I was wrong, that would make this a really, really good landscape camera, which means you can take a lot more photos in one sitting with less SD cards. Sadly, you can't really see the mountains right now because of the glorious amounts of smoke from all the wildfires, as that's a problem that we face here in Colorado every year. But I was lucky enough to get out with this camera before the haze from the smoke came through, again into Hermit Park and into Hewlett Gulch, actually, not Young Gulch. Like I said a little bit ago in the video, I was incorrect. It was Hewlett Gulch. And this camera actually performed, again, way better than any of my expectations. It doesn't have the built-in focusing motor like the D50 does, but I think it more than makes up for it with the color capture capabilities. And the photo I'm going to show you really quick is actually of some poppies growing in a field of green. It's green and yellow, and the poppies are red, and the way that this captured that red is absolutely stunning. So let me show that picture for you real quick. And as you can see, it's absolutely stunning how well that came together. This camera's capabilities for capturing color is amazing. Dwayne did not let me down when he told me about this camera. Now, the D60 uses the exact same sensor, but it's a 10 megapixel, and I think the D60 might be worth getting our hands on for a review. Now, again, the same issues arose with this as before. I had some problems with the focusing, but that was more along the lines of me switching lenses and me having issues remembering that I got to turn continuous focus off. For some reason, I turned it on to play with the camera and forgot to turn it back off. The other problem I had is the ISO range. I would have really liked to be able to drop down to 100 ISO in order to get some of those sunnier shots, but that's nothing an ND filter couldn't solve. I don't currently have an ND filter. I was looking at some. I tried to find my old one, but as it turns out, I had given it away to another landscape photographer about 4 or 5 years ago when I stopped taking landscape. But now, as we're going back into landscape photography, I think this is going to be my best bet for getting those photos. If I want a higher resolution image, I can always just focus stack, throw this on a tripod, take 5 or 6 photos of the exact same thing, and focus stack those images. That'll allow me to get the proper exposures that I want, so I could stack the sky differently, change that kind of stuff, but I could actually build up a larger photo that way. And maybe we'll do that in a video where I will do some Lightroom tutorials. It's totally up to you guys if that's something you all want to see. Now, overall, the camera is relatively light. It's lighter than the Nikon D50. It's lighter than the Nikon D70. I would say it's slightly heavier than the 51 and the 5300, but overall for a used camera, it works out pretty good. Again, you can pick these up for like 75, 80 bucks on eBay. You have a pretty good display screen on the back for when you are out shooting, and the 3 brackets make some landscape shots more difficult, but these landscape shots, it wasn't too bad. Now, this does not use the same batteries as the D50, the D70, or the D51 or 5300. This uses a totally different battery altogether, which I could dock it for that just because you have to get more equipment. But if it's the only camera you're going to buy and you're not like me with 100 different cameras laying around with all different batteries, it's not going to be a big deal to you. Now, the SD card slides in right there. Again, I believed that it was only 1 to 3 gigabytes, but I have been told that you can use bigger ones if they're not SanDisk, apparently. Does not have the built-in autofocus motor, but you can use focusing lens on it. I used the 10 to 20 millimeter Sigma that I have a video for right up there. And as you've seen through these images so far, the color capture is stunning. It is amazing. It's exactly what you want when you're going out and shooting landscape photography. Landscape photography is something I haven't done in a long time, but I was pleasantly surprised by the capabilities of this camera. The greens looked stunning. The reds, all the colors, looked absolutely amazing. Next spring, we're going to go out and take wildflower photos with this because it is absolutely an amazing little camera. The portrait review, I believe I gave it a 6 or 7 out of 10. It could have been around there. I don't remember, but I know it wasn't above 7. But as a landscape camera, what do I give it out of 10? Now, as a landscape camera, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. And literally, it's because of that color capture capability. Nikon, if you ever see this video, which I doubt you will, you need to bring this sensor back in a higher megapixel and with more focusing points, because I believe the D60 only has 3 focusing points like the Nikon D40 does. So if you're interested in landscape photography and you don't have the haze that we have right now, I do recommend getting a Nikon D40. Go out, take some photos with it, learn the color capabilities. What I'm thinking next for this camera is doing night photography in the downtown area of my town. I think the way that this captures color on a tripod for long exposure at night, it's going to capture those street signs amazing, it's going to capture the neon signs downtown amazing, and it's going to capture those cool light trails on automobiles absolutely magnificently. I think the color capture capabilities of this camera is going to make it a trooper that is in my arsenal for a long time to come, if only for landscape and cityscape shots. I don't think I will use this for portraits again. I might do it again for a review next year. Maybe it's grown on me more by then, but this is not going to be a regular portrait camera for me. Those 3 focusing points just aren't enough to go out and shoot. But if you're looking to get into landscape, cityscape, where those 3 points are perfect for it, I absolutely recommend the Nikon D40 for that. So with a 9 out of 10 for landscape, possibly cityscape, I do recommend this for any landscape shooters. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. I did have to do a secondary review on this. I don't feel like it was built necessarily as a portrait camera. Again, those 3 focusing points really make it hard to get some really good portraits from any other angles other than your standard mugshot style or JCPenney style photo. And that was my big issue with this camera. Now, it doesn't mean it can't be used for portrait photography, but I think in the hands of a landscape photographer, that's where this camera really shines. So I want to thank you all for joining us today. I want a special thanks to Nick Del Duca for filming all of this video for us and making sure that the cinematics on this channel are doing fantastic. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. At 1,500 subscribers, we're giving away a metal print of this photo. And at 5,000 subscribers, I'm giving away a Nikon D50-100 with a Yongnuo f1.8 50mm prime lens. And make sure you hit the notification bell so you know right when I upload. We're trying to get back into the groove of doing 2 to 3 shorts a week. I've started live streaming, and I also have one of these large uploads at least once a week. Sometimes things go sideways, and I'm not capable of doing that, but for the most part, it's once a week. Next week, we're doing a video on... What is my next week's video? Next week, we're doing a video on photographing an automobile or a car. We got special thanks to Greeley Subaru for that. If you guys saw my short, which I will link down in the description, on the Subaru Outback Wilderness, that car is absolutely amazing. If we do more landscape photography with this, we might have to go get ourselves one of those. So thank you for checking out this video. You guys have a wonderful afternoon, and I will catch you all on the flip side. Bye.